Hey everyone, how we doing out there today? This is the Flip Flop Investor Show, and I am your host, Todd Bayer, the Flip Flop Investor himself, every week. For those of you that don't know, we get together, we talk about real estate investing here in the Inland Empire, and get together with a local expert, or sometimes a local newbie, or tonight, a very special guest. A new person on the show we've never had on the show before, Joanna Donofrio. How are you doing today, Joanna?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing well. How are you doing, Todd?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I wanted to talk to Joanna today because Joanna rents a property in Highland, and just recently had a really horrible tenant experience. Man, the station's falling apart in here. We got stuff falling down everywhere. Yeah, so we have
bad luck's following me this week.
Bad luck, man. So hopefully you don't bring the bad luck onto the show.
No.
I think it's going great so far. I think everybody else out there agrees.
I think so too.
You had a bad tenant experience. So
I did.
Let's talk a little bit about this. How long have you been renting this place?
This particular place I've been renting for going on to my second year.
Okay.
But so basically about 15 months. I've been renting though for about 8 years.
8 years?
Yes, in the renting pool.
Okay. So you obviously rent from one of these larger nationwide leasing companies that own a bunch of properties all over California, and you can move from property to property.
Well, this is my first time working with this particular property. This is the first time I've had a really good actual leasing agency. Before, I've worked with other smaller, even maybe single owner properties and leasing agencies, but this is my first time working with this particular.
Got it. And so I don't want to name names per se, because we don't want to badmouth these folks.
I don't want to out anybody, but they're pretty big.
Yeah, they're pretty big. And I'm sure a lot of people out there knew who we're probably alluding to, but we just won't say yes or no to anything. We'll just keep it at that. But and what happened isn't necessarily their fault, as in like they didn't cause this on purpose to happen, but you had like a water main break in the wall right outside your
yes.
right in the main wall of your house.
Right in the living room. I came home on a Sunday morning to my whole living room being flooded, not really knowing where it came from, and it turned out it came from a burst pipe in the wall. And so the walls were wet and the floors were wet, and it wasn't so much, of course, that's not anybody's fault. Things just happen. It's more just the fact that it's not being handled correctly after the fact.
And that's sort of what brought up in the office this week. A lot of like tenant law, like what are tenants entitled to, and what are we, what's your recourse in this case? Because obviously the water thing broke, and you had to shut your water off, your main water.
So for that first night, we didn't have any running water to the house, so that was definitely an unlivable situation at that point. But from there, they did promptly the next day come out as soon as they could to try to fix the leak. But after that, it almost seems like none of the contractors or anybody speaks to each other, because their first worry after fixing the pipe was to drywall it over. Yeah. When there's water damage to the walls that needed to be torn down.
Yeah, so because you actually had water leaking into the living room.
Yes, it went all the way down my living room. My floors, probably about 30 feet of floor at least had to be taken out. Wow. And the walls have been taken out as well.
So yeah, and I saw the picture you showed where they basically cut the bottom 2 feet off of the wall or so. So you just have like these, you can see the wood behind the walls, all the studs.
Yeah, it's deemed safe to be around exposed fiberglass and open floor. So they did put up a very small plastic wall. Yeah. For us, so
that was very thoughtful of them.
That was nice of them.
But I think whenever there's water in a house, and whenever water comes in contact with people, it seems that we get this nice mold situation that goes on. And yeah, you're you showed me pictures, and what it looks to be from the pictures. Yeah. There's some black mold growing.
There's some blackness on the wall insulation. I don't know what a better word for it would be, but there is black on the walls, and we're really worried about the smell, because we do have fans going that were provided by them, and we've had our windows open and blasting the fans, but the smell will not leave.
Yeah, and of course you can't run your air conditioning right now.
We were told we are not to run our air conditioner if possible.
So for those of you that live in Highland, I'm sure you're enjoying the 104-degree temperatures today.
Yeah, about 104 with no air conditioning.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful. Yeah. So you're going to spend as much time away from the house today As you can.
Yes, we have been every day. We go to the pool. And I've unfortunately had to lock myself in my room. That's the only room that can escape the smell because it is upstairs and it's a bigger room.
That's good. So at least there's somewhere you can go where you're not breathing in all those mold spores. I mean,
I hide in there now.
I think the fact that they have considered this place to be habitable, they had a contractor walk through and the contractor says this place is habitable. I think
livable is what he said.
Okay.
After he took out the floors, I was really concerned because the minute they ripped the flooring out, the actual person that was doing it, he had to run outside because of the smell. He was coughing and choking. And I smelled it even from my bedroom once they ripped the floors out. So I was really concerned. Before they left, I knew I needed to speak with them. So I asked them what they thought. And they said, no, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's just mildew.
Yeah, it's just mildew, which is mold, right? You know, so you're breathing in all these spores. I think it's terrible. And as a landlord, I think they have a responsibility to fix the situation that you're in. That is their fault. I mean, ultimately they're the property owner. It is their fault, right? So they should be doing something. And in most cases, I think a landlord would put you into a hotel room.
Yes, they didn't even really help us the first night. Of course, it was a Sunday, so that was probably the worst luck we had, was that we first discovered it on a Sunday. And I did understand there's not a lot that can be done. So we did supply our own room, but they have yet to agree for reimbursement, and they have denied us to be put in a room any further. And the first night I did take it in stride when they said, you can be here. The next day I decided to call because the smell was really unbearable and you can feel it and the air is really thick. And they'd still claim, and I actually requested a mold test and they denied that.
Yeah, so you've taken it upon yourself now to get a mold test done.
Yes, we've taken it upon ourselves to get that going because I'm just worried about the safety of the home, and especially with a young child. I do have a 7-year-old little girl. She's not there at the moment, thank goodness. She's coming home in 2 days, and so I'm really dreading that.
Yeah, and then you have pets as well, and you yourself. I mean, you're a working person, and you have your boyfriend. He works, so
we work full time, even more. He works sometimes 60 hours a week, so we don't really have anybody there.
Yeah.
For that, to make sure that the cats aren't climbing in the fiberglass insulation or the dogs aren't chewing on it. And we do have exposed power outlets in the wall as well right now. Which,
hopefully they're all grounded properly and they wouldn't electrocute anybody, but the risk is always there, I suppose, so.
And I feel that I was a little bit in those situations can get taken advantage of, not necessarily that I have been fully, but they know that I don't know everything. And they know I don't have the financial means to put myself in a hotel and to look into my actual rights and responsibilities, even though I have called the Fair Housing Authority to see what they can do. But I know that they know that I don't have everything to hold them as accountable as someone else may be able to that had the financial ability, and they bank on that.
Yeah, and and as a property owner, I've owned rentals before, and as a former rental owner, I can tell you that this is not the type of treatment I would have done with my tenant. It's like, look, I have insurance for this stuff.
Exactly.
Like I have insurance for things like this where if there's going to be a loss of income because the tenant has to move out into a hotel, my insurance would cover the hotel. It would cover the loss of income that because you wouldn't be paying me rent. Obviously, you're not living there.
Yes.
And you're having to cover the cost of food. You can't cook at home anymore, so you have to now go out every single day, every
single meal.
Yeah, which is much more expensive than cooking at home. So, as a property owner, I think it's important to take care of your tenants. I mean, this is your customer, right?
Yeah.
Like, in what business, could you treat your customer like this?
I don't think in any other you wouldn't have them after that.
Yeah, you'd lose your customer. Like, who would go back to that? So, and I think this is a problem in real estate in general. And this is sort of, I guess I'm taking a different approach to the show today because a lot of times we're talking about all the good stuff that happens in real estate, but there's a lot of landlords out there that call them slumlords or whatever you want to call them, but there are these people that will do nothing to the home and they're completely violating the laws and they're getting away with it, and because people don't understand what they can do. So
what recourses they can take and what their rights are in those situations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but you've discovered the Fair Housing, and the HUD. You've discovered them, and they're a resource. Have you actually talked to the person there yet? Have you gotten a call back from them?
We're currently waiting for our call back. They I thought it is fairly quick for them. It's a 24 business hour turnaround to be called back. So I'm expecting it sometime tomorrow. And you do have to wait to actually speak to a mediator that can tell you your rights and responsibilities. So that's the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but tomorrow you'll probably get some more clarity with them, but they do have these mediators on site, and they obviously understand all the rules and regulations. So
Yes.
I think generally in California, if you feel like you're being treated unfairly and it's unbalanced, it's probably against some kind of law somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's good that that HUD has this, hotline you can call in, and you can, you're not necessarily filing a complaint. You're not saying you're not filing a lawsuit against the property owner or anything, but at the very least, you have this big body that's out there that can help protect you as a tenant.
Yes. And make sure you're knowledgeable on what you should be doing and what they should be doing to help you.
Yeah.
That's really important.
And, I may not be the most popular real estate investor talking about, tenant rights in California, but they exist. And if you want to do business in California, you need to understand these things.
Yes.
And abide by the rules. That's,
Yes, definitely.
know the rules of the game before you play it. That's kind of the name of the game here. So, yeah, California is a very tenant-friendly state. So if you want to own rental property here, there's going to be, the risk of loss due to things like this. This is what's going to happen.
Unforeseen incidents, acts of God, basically.
Yeah.
And so in that situation, my biggest concern was that they denied me even to come and check for mold. And so that is the biggest issue going on right now. Basically, they denied us to be put in a room. And I did let them know it's not really convenient for us to have to be in a hotel room with our child and with no food.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
We don't want to do that at all. I want to be in my home. But it's just for safety that I've been so worried. And so what really upset me was when they denied that. When I actually spoke to someone in person, I walked to the leasing office because it's very close to my work. And the lady was not very friendly to us. She was not willing to listen to anything. And all she would say was, your home has been deemed livable by a licensed contractor, so we are not going to perform a mold test, and we are not going to put you in a hotel room. Yeah,
and she's trying to put the liability onto the contractor, and I get what she's going towards, but it's just not the right way to treat your customer.
My issue was, well, did he check for mold? And she said no. I said, okay, so there's nothing saying there is or there isn't right now, right?
Yeah. So exactly, how is he to make a determination? Is he a mold expert? Is he an inspector? Does he understand what he's looking for?
Exactly.
Does he know how to even get rid of mold?
So funnily enough, right after I went to the leasing agency, they had somebody at my house within an hour. I wasn't even home yet. They had someone at my house within an hour saying they wanted to come and remove, quote unquote, the black stuff from my walls.
Yeah. Which it kind of is admitting, guilt in a way. Like they're saying, okay, we're going to get rid of the black stuff in your walls.
It was funny because he didn't know what he was even coming out there for. He spoke to someone that was there. We did not let him in because it was not a good time. He did have to leave, unfortunately. But he did say, I'm not exactly sure why I'm here. I was told I'm supposed to remove some blackness from your wall insulation. And I said, well, do you have a hazmat suit? Or do you have gloves?
Yeah.
Do you have everything? This was speaking to him over the phone because I was not there. And I did let him know that at the moment, we are waiting to get our house tested for mold. So I don't know if that's a safe situation for him to go ripping through the wall insulation.
Yeah, you're looking out for his welfare. Well, it's nice
even
that
though
you're
no one's looking out for ours.
Yeah, or looking out for his either, apparently.
Another thing I was thinking about, we ourselves actually do pay insurance on the home. So that's one other thing that has rubbed me wrong with the way our landlords have been treating us, is the fact that we do pay every month to insure the home. So they may have that as a recourse for them to help us as well. The insurance that we pay should help in some way for flooding damage. Yeah, and it depends on the type of insurance that you got as a tenant, obviously. I know we talked about, most tenant policies cover like personal belongings. So, if as a result of the flood of the house, numerous things got damaged, furniture, stuff like that, it would cover that stuff. But it may not actually cover things like a hotel stay. Yeah, okay. Some things did get damaged in the water. We had a couch that got damaged, and the chair got only from the underneath, but we've had to turn them upside down to dry. So those are all not usable at the moment, either our furniture as well. It's always just adding to the inconvenience of this whole thing. So the landlord is,
they're paying for insurance, right, for all this stuff. So the insurance for them is going to cover the leak. It's going to cover the cost of that. Like, realistically, they're going to come out of pocket for this, whatever their deductible is on their insurance, which, it's a big company, so I'm sure they have a very low deductible, so they're going to pay probably, let's just say $500, to cover the cost of the pipe break, all the repairs, all the drywall repair, all the electrical, the insulation, the mold removal. All that's going to get paid for by the insurance company, because this was something that nobody could have predicted. It wasn't anybody's fault.
Yeah.
Like, nobody went in there and caused this to happen. It just did.
Exactly.
So it's going to be it's funny that they're going to get all this stuff covered, and they're not willing to work with you, at least in some way, because they're going to get compensated for the loss of rents, if there is any, from a result of this, which, you saying I need to stay in a hotel and I need you guys to help cover the cost of food while I'm there, because that's that's obvious. It makes sense to me. Like, I don't understand why a company wouldn't do that just to keep a tenant happy, and because big companies these days are getting smeared with like negative things on Yelp or
all the time.
Twitter or stuff like that, and you could just easily take to these places and share your experience, and who knows, maybe they'll
they've got a Yelp review coming up, definitely. That's coming, so look out for that.
It's like I love when I see tow truck companies that have Yelp like Yelp accounts. I'm like, why would they ever have a good review?
They will never have a good review except from the property manager. Like, they tow very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if I was to hire a tow company, I'd want the one with like 1 or like no stars. That's right.
One everybody hates. Who has the worst reviews? Let's hire
exactly.
them.
Who has the worst?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, that's another scam in and of itself.
That's another radio. That's another radio show.
Yeah, actually, I was working out today at the gym, and a guy his girlfriend's car was getting towed. I got the call as he was there. He was really upset about it.
I think he was supposed to be here, right?
No, different guy.
Oh, we had two towing incidents in front of the gym today.
The guy that was going to be here today, he ended up getting a parking ticket because he didn't pay his parking meter. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, it was pretty funny. He deserves it.
Yeah.
He broke the law.
If he would have been planning to be here, he probably would have remembered to put more money in his meter.
All these things, it's the universe telling him you shouldn't have ditched out on me.
Karma works. It really does.
That's fine. He'll be all right.
Yes.
But so this whole thing is still kind of in process. It's going to get taken care of, at some point. Let's hope down the road what's going to happen is that the HUD inquiry is going to kind of spark a mediation maybe between you and the landlord.
Yeah.
And maybe you guys can work out some kind of agreement where you say, like, it makes sense that you guys you're going to get compensated for this anyway through your insurance. So, like, help me out. Like, be a good person. Like, just be a good business. Like,
yes, and they're putting my safety at risk for a very low amount of money is how I feel about it at this moment.
And not just your safety, it's the safety of
my
everybody
family,
living in the home.
Everybody living in the home, including a young child. And so that's my biggest worry at this moment. So I wish I had the means to be able to put myself in a room for all this time and let them know that they are going to be responsible at some point. Like, you're not paying for it now, but you will, because this is what should be going on at the moment. So, but moving forward, I was told it could take a while for this to be fixed. I was told on Monday when they came to check for the flood damage that it will definitely not be done this week, and that most likely they'll have their quotes and contact me sometime next week to schedule them to come back out to finish. Whereas at this point, nothing's going to happen until I have the house tested for mold.
Right. Yeah. And it's, another thing too, is that if the insurance company's involved, it's going to take longer. Like, that's just the nature of insurance companies.
Yes.
If they were me, if it were my house that I was renting, I would fix it as soon as possible to get the tenant back in the home, because that's where they want to be.
Yes.
And deal with the insurance, later on. Like, obviously document everything, make sure my contractor, had photos, and that way you can submit it all to the insurance company and say, this is the damage that was done, and we did all the work, knowing that you guys would pay a claim on this. But I would definitely do the work myself first, get you back in the home, because that's where you want to be.
Yes.
And it's just the best customer service, I think, to do something like that, rather than putting you through all the long duration. I know my own brother had a flood in his condo, and because it's a condo and they have a homeowners association or a condo owners association, and it affected the neighbor below them.
Yes.
That now the homeowners association insurance kicked in, and that's where the whole thing just spiraled out of control. It took them, I think, 6 months to get a new kitchen.
Oh my goodness.
You know, dealing with the insurance company, and because it was not just their insurance but also the homeowners insurance, and yeah, it was a big debacle, and it took a long time.
That's my worry, is that this is something that is going to take longer than they're saying.
Yeah. I had another friend of mine who lived in a house in Riverside, and yeah, the house ended up very similar, actually. It was a burst, but it was in the kitchen. The pipe, it was a pipe that had burst in the kitchen. And yeah, same thing. They ended up having to cut all the walls out, took all the cabinets out. I mean, it was a big,
they had to dry everything.
Had to dry everything. You know, yeah, they had to go in and do a lot of stuff in that house, but it took, I'd say, a good 2 months, you know, before it was actually wrapped up entirely.
Oh my goodness. And maybe that's part of their hesitance, is that we don't want to put them up in a room for a month or 2 months. But I wouldn't insist on that. I'm only insisting on it because of the intense smell. You can almost taste it. It's very thick in the house.
Oh, I've been in lots of homes with mold problems. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's at least in the starting stages, and then but they've let me know it's just mildew. So
just mildew.
It's just intense mildew.
Just another form of mold.
Hurts to breathe in. So.
Yeah. Well, that's it's a terrible story. You know, obviously. There are worse things that could happen, you know, to a home.
Yes, we're very happy that no one got hurt, and that there wasn't any more damage. The plumber actually did tell me I was very lucky that my whole house didn't flood because of the size of the pipe.
Yeah. He
said usually it's about a 1/4 inch or something like that, 1/4 inch pipes that burst in those fashions. He said with a 1 inch pipe like this, the whole home could have been filled up within 12 hours, less than that.
Yeah, and I've heard of those. You know, people will come home from a vacation or something, and you know, everything's floating in their house.
Yes.
You know, that could have happened, and you're on a raised foundation, right?
We are, and we did have some electrical items that were very close to falling into water. The water was about 1 foot away from reaching the TV. It was near the cable lines, and of course I know those lines are protected, but we have our Wii U, and the tablet was very close to falling off the table into the big puddle of water. We're very lucky that an animal wasn't electrocuted, that they didn't splash any water onto the outlet, anything like that. So everything that did happen, a lot of things went wrong, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. So it's good to hear that nobody got hurt. That's
yes,
you know,
definitely.
that's the important thing, I think.
Yeah.
At least coming from this, that's the silver lining.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a silver lining here. No one got hurt, and it's very good timing that my daughter wasn't there when it happened too, because that would have been would have made things a lot harder.
Yeah, and nobody was home, right? It just
nobody
just sort of happened, and you know.
It happened between the hours of 2 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Okay, and nobody was home during 2 and 7?
We went out on a Saturday night. We went to Fontana to our friend's house.
Okay.
And we actually had 2 cars because me and my fiance drove separately.
Okay.
So I had another friend. They had left their car at my house. They were getting tired, so we said, okay, why don't you just take Kevin's car home, leave it there, and you can just drive home. And she was very excited about that. So I asked her if she'd go in and let my dogs out to go to the restroom so we could stay out. You know, I didn't have my daughter, so we were like, okay, it's party time.
Exactly.
Let's stay out for a little bit. So she agreed to go inside, feed the cats for me, and let the dogs out to go to the bathroom, let them back in. This was about 2, which she went.
Okay.
And she said everything looked fine, and there's no way that if the water was coming out that she would have missed it, because you could notice it instantly when you walked into the home. So it did have to happen between those hours.
Yeah, and you can usually just kind of detect the presence of moisture too.
You can.
I know I've like I said, I've been in a ton of different homes with a multitude of problems. Mold being one of those ones that's just, you know, it's unmistakable. Like, it's always the same. It's very stuffy. It's a very humid feeling, you know, in the house.
You can almost feel it.
Yeah, you can feel it. You know, you can just sense that there's mold and moisture in the home. Yeah.
That's one thing you can smell when you're downstairs, is the moisture. It's a little disturbing. I just lock myself in my room because they've said it's safe, so maybe I should go sleep downstairs.
Yeah, maybe.
In the living room.
Hey, it's safe, right?
Yeah, they said it's good.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not to say you're always going to get sick from mold, you know, but, you know, the risk is there.
Yeah.
I know there's plenty of people, most people have mold in their homes. I think there's very few homes I've actually been into that we've done as like a flip where there wasn't some kind of mold present somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere throughout the house.
Yeah, you're gonna find it most typically in the bathrooms, you know,
under sinks
in the kitchen.
Makes
you know,
sense.
like, because there's, you know, you're always gonna have like just these minor like things of, little leak here and there that you don't notice, or, water's coming out of the shower and it's spraying behind the toilet or something like that.
Yeah, you got to check your walls, check if you have ledges on top of your shower.
Yeah.
Your water splashes there, it never gets wiped.
Exactly.
Might want to check that out.
Yeah, and, killing mold is fairly difficult. Mm-hmm. Some people say you can kill it with just bleach. Some people say you can't kill it with just bleach. You know. I know if you get actual mold remediation done, it won't be bleach that they're doing.
Yeah, no, they won't use bleach. Bleach can kill parvo, but I don't think it kills mold.
Bleach kills parvo?
It really does, yes. That's one animal owner tip.
Isn't parvo like a worm?
Nope, the parvo, there is a worm. I don't think it's the parvovirus is what they get.
Oh, it's a virus?
Yeah, it's a virus that affects young. This is off topic, but mostly young animals, but
it applies. It
does a little bit.
You got animals.
We do. So yes, if you take your animals on a walk, if they're little and they haven't been vaccinated, use some bleach on your walkway.
Use some bleach on your walkway. Bleach
your shoes before you go out, and then rub the bottoms when you come back to eliminate if you have stepped, especially if you take them to a dog park. To make sure that you don't step on any parvo infested
feces.
Yes, from other dogs. That's where they get it from.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Man, and I don't know why dogs like eating other dogs, They
love it. Any kind of any kind of things like that.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. So bleach. There you go. Yeah, we're about helpful tips here too, right? I mean, that's what we do.
All sorts of tips.
I'm like, okay, parvo. Yeah. So, but bleach your driveway. What are you doing? You get like a big brush out, like you're throwing bleach down your driveway and just scrub it away, or what?
I would say if you had a puppy and you were being really, really careful to maybe not wear your shoes throughout the house, leave your shoes in the entryway, and then maybe wipe down your entryway with a bleached Lysol wipe.
Until they're vaccinated.
Yeah, until they're vaccinated, and you have to wait until they have I believe it's their second or third vaccination before they're fully 100% safe from contracting parvo. And you are supposed to give your dog, I believe, a parvo shot every year as well, once they're adult dogs.
Like it's like a booster?
Mm-hmm, it's a booster.
See, I don't have a dog. I haven't had a dog since I lived with my parents, so it's been a while, and I wasn't part of the vaccination process. Yeah. So, I just knew that there was this cool dog, and she ate a big thing of butter one time. It was pretty funny.
Why do dogs love butter?
I don't know. And
my dogs love butter.
She would have done it again too.
Yeah.
I remember one time,
I would have done it again.
My brother and I remember we were young. I want to say we were like 5 and 7 or something, and we were seeing what we could get the dog to eat, and like at one point we were like feeding the dog onions, like all these things. They're just eating everything we give them.
They're like ooh, it's my birthday.
But they didn't like the Tabasco sauce.
No, they don't like spicy.
No,
not really.
Yeah, they're not.
But they love butter.
They love butter. I love butter. Who doesn't
I can't leave
butter?
A stick of butter and go walk into the other room. My dogs will jump on the counter and eat it, and they won't be happy later. You can tell that they're not feeling too good, but they just love butter. It's their favorite thing.
Butter's good. Mm-hmm. I think everybody can agree.
Let's just agree that butter's good. Okay.
Hopefully everybody else out there agrees. Yeah.
Even if I can't believe it's not vegan butter, that butter's still good.
Vegan butter.
Mm-hmm. If you want to try that, I can't believe it's vegan.
Vegan butter.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Very good.
I think I saw a commercial for it. Is that the one with the guy they have they asked Jesus or something?
Or I think wasn't he in a field of some sort? I forget the commercial.
I don't know.
But they had a bunch of others. I can't believe it's vegetarian. I can't believe it's vegan.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look for those commercials next time you're on YouTube or on TV.
And let your dog watch the commercials too, and then maybe they can pick their favorite kind of butter. Maybe they want vegan butter. You shouldn't assume.
I remember when the dog ate that big thing of butter, because it was like one of those like big blocks you get at Costco.
Oh, so it's like the whole pound block where you have to cut it yourself?
That's right. It was the 1 pound block, and my mom was softening it on the counter to make cookies later. Yeah. And the dog jumped up on the counter and ate the entire pound block of butter.
You can't make cookies with hard butter, that's for sure. Right. I've learned to now my butter has to thaw in the microwave. Not with it on, but if I need to leave it out, I'll have to leave it in the microwave.
Counter thaw's the way. Yeah. So it was just funny. I remember the dog didn't feel very good and was getting rid of that butter on both ends of the dog. And there was one place on the porch in the backyard where she had thrown up, and it had like the next time it rained, I remember it was that was the one spot where it had that oil effect on pavement where it was bubbling up right there.
The acidity.
Yeah, it was all the fat was still there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Just fun little dog stories.
They just love it.
I never had a dog get parvo though.
I myself never have, and I have actually had a dog that I had around a lot of other dogs very young, and we took her into forests and traveling and things like that. And if you're really careful, you can keep your dog pretty safe.
Yeah.
You just have to be pretty cleanly. The biggest thing is your shoes.
Tracking
it in, especially being careful if you're around other dogs. So.
Is that because dogs tend to chew on your shoes? Is that why? Or is it just because you're tracking it through the house and they're licking the floor, or what?
Well, you get parvo from feces.
Okay.
Other dogs get it that way. So if you come in contact with it and they lick you, if your shoes come in contact with it and it spreads it throughout the house, they walk on it, they lick their paw, they have it.
And is it like highly contagious?
It is very highly contagious, and it's actually a really high rate that they won't survive it. And the younger they are, the more risk they have of not surviving it. I've had a couple cases where owners have been able to save their dogs from the throes of parvo.
Really?
They've even gone as far as rectally giving them basically electrolytes.
Okay.
Pedialyte. So giving your dog
Just to keep them hydrated.
just to keep that's the thing, they dehydrate and they die.
Yeah.
Their organs start shutting down because they're not drinking or eating.
Yeah, and
So.
it's not as easy to put an IV on a dog.
No. If you have the money, you could always take them to a vet, have them be strapped to an IV for a couple days. That could save them as well.
Yeah.
But really just making sure you're sanitizing things while they're at that young stage is the most important.
So that helps.
Yeah, it does help. Especially if you're going to a dog park. Just watch that.
Yeah. So back to the tenant issues at hand.
Yes, back to the issues.
We were talking about dogs, which is fun, but
Yeah.
talking about real estate, that's what the show's about.
Yeah, we need to get back to that.
Got to talk about the real estate stuff. You've been and I guess for everybody out there that doesn't know, Joanna is like the office boss, so she runs everything in the office.
To get to them, you have to get through me.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. You're the gatekeeper.
Yes, I am
know.
the gatekeeper.
Yes, Joanna's the person everybody loves to hate, because they want to get to me or Steven.
So I can tell with a smile on my face.
Exactly.
Like, sorry, guys.
But the best part is they hang up with a smile on their face because they're happy that you
Yeah. They're like, I've never been rejected so nicely in my life.
I know, and it's tough. It's not that we're rejecting anybody, right? We
You just don't have time for everyone, and sometimes it's not so much a rejection as you might have to wait, and sometimes people don't really like to wait.
Yeah, and that's tough. I don't like to wait myself, but sometimes
all good things come to those who wait.
Yeah, today I had like a 1 hour bracket where I wasn't in a meeting. That was like my one little hour there.
And yes, they don't get a lot of time for themselves throughout the day.
No.
So
and the best part was nobody called, so
Yes.
I actually got my hour. I feel very refreshed.
That's good.
Like I was able to enjoy my lunch.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't have to eat your lunch standing up or running to your next meeting.
Or try to carry a conversation while eating the most sloppy food imaginable. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So Joanna, she keeps track of the office and runs everything, and basically, is the office boss. So if she says if she tells me or Steven to do something, we have to do it because she's the boss.
Because it needs to get done.
Needs to get done.
Yeah.
And so we do. Today I know Steven had to run out and sign a bunch of stuff at an escrow office, and he was trying to he was trying to take the day off today. So but too bad.
Nope.
You got to go out.
Sorry.
You got to go out and sign these docs. That's
We need
what
them
you got to
signed
do.
now.
We
Yes.
need them signed. So sorry, you can't take a day off.
Not today. You're so close to the weekend, though.
I know. Just one more day.
Yeah.
One more day.
Just one more.
That's what some people on their drive home right now are saying. Like, just one more day.
We're so close.
And for those
I'm
people,
sure you guys may be having issues too. Just know you're not alone. If you're a renter and you're having issues,
yeah,
we're here. We feel you.
And I mean, even as a homeowner, if you're to own a home, these problems happen.
Yes,
it's actually harder, I think.
I can imagine. The first thought I had when I walked into the flooded house was, imagine if I owned this home, coming home to a very expensive incident.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate the fact that I do have stresses, but they're probably not as much as someone that may have even owned the home would be stressing.
Yeah. And fortunately, I mean, this is the purpose for insurance, right? You pay money each month to this company so that if stuff happens like this, then you're covered. And so if you're a homeowner, the same thing goes. But as a homeowner, everybody has it in their policy that you can stay in a hotel. It's like a thing that's in everybody's policy.
Seems pretty standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was so shocked that they were very adamant not to want to do that. But I know they're probably just trying to spend as little as they can, and they have their what they probably feel is their safety net is their deemed livable from their licensed contractor. But we'll have someone else come look at that.
Yeah, we'll have a real mold specialist come check it out.
Yes, and if there is mold, then there's going to be more of an issue than just getting a reduction in rent.
Of course.
Because they've put my family in just a not safe situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always gone off just the belief that you should always be super honest and just do things right. So we're not going to withhold any rent from them right now, but we do expect to hold them to their responsibilities in the future. Yes.
Yeah. And insurance companies love the word. It's negligence.
It is negligence at this point.
Was there negligence? By having a contractor sign off on the mold issue, but not actually assessing the mold issue or being qualified to even check the mold issue. Mm-hmm. That's negligence in my opinion.
And especially if he did tell me it's not mold when he left. He said, no, it's just mildew. So that's them saying that it's not something when they can't know that.
Maybe there's somebody in the radio right now yelling at us saying mold is not mildew. I'm gonna set the record straight.
Yeah, we should check that.
We're going on Google right now.
I've always thought that mildew was the beginning stages of a very bad mold.
Is mildew mold? Let's see right here. Google says this is on HGTV, one of our favorite stations.
We love HGTV.
Tons of shows about flipping on there. And for those of you that want to see a real life example of what a real house flip looks like, don't watch HGTV. Come check out the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club.
Come check us out. Fourth Wednesday of every month.
What does it say? Mildew is a surface fungi that can easily be identified as a patch of gray or even white fungus that is lying on the surface of a moist area. Mildew is easily treated with a store-bought cleaner and a scrubbing brush. Mold, on the other hand, can be black or green and is often the result of a much larger infestation. So they're saying mold and mildew are two separate things. Mildew being a patch of gray or even white fungus. But they're saying mold, on the other hand, is black or green.
I have all four of those colors on my exposed wall.
So you have white, gray, green, and black.
I do in one corner, and it was so funny because the contractor actually was worried about some of our beams. He said those beams look rusted, like they could even fall. We may have to replace those. And on inspection of my own, the walls are white and green and black, and it looks to me almost as there might have been a little bit of a leakage going on in the wall for a little while before it fully burst and flooded. So
that's not good.
It's really not good.
Yeah. So, I mean, if HGTV is wrong about mold, I don't want to know what right is.
Yeah, I don't want to be right.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people, and I'm just reading through all these things, but yes, it appears that would be mold if it's black or green. So
yeah, and I was more, when he told me that, I did take him at his word, saying, you're okay to be here. So I just figured, okay, let's blow the fans, open the windows. Maybe the smell will be gone in a day. It has not gone, and it seems to be getting a little bit worse. And there is black on the insulation.
Clearly. You show me the picture.
Yes.
It's not just like a speck of black. It's like a lot of black.
There was a section that was black. It has been drying with the fans, and some of the blackness has faded. But if you check the insulation, there's black along the sides, and there's an area that I had mentioned that has all the different colors, and it looks like as if the concrete and the wood next to it has all started to be eaten away by moisture.
Yeah, but you're not pulling the insulation back, because behind there you'd see all the wood and everything. It's probably got mold there too. I mean,
I'm sure.
It gets everywhere. I mean, mold's a very invasive kind of thing.
Yes.
So it can get in all kinds of places.
Well, right behind the wall where it was leaking was our main water line, where we water our grass, where we would do anything like that if we want to put a sprinkler on. And so we immediately realized that must be the source. So I don't foresee how the other end of the wall cannot be affected.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's, mold's bad. And
that house has been having a lot of problems since we moved in. It was vacant actually for about 18 months. So you would think they'd want to help out their tenants that have been the first renters in over a year.
Yeah.
But the house has had a lot of minor problems. The sliding glass door does not lock. They've come to fix the lock. It keeps breaking. It can't lock. We had a major leak under our sink that they left us without a working sink to wash dishes for 3 days.
When you first moved in?
It was a little bit after, about 2 months after.
Okay.
And we did, we understand things happen. It's an old house, especially having somebody finally using things after a long time of not using them.
Right.
But it was my first inkling that, okay, they're not in too big of a rush to help with things when they go down.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've sold homes to this company before, so like
Yeah.
I've dealt with them, and they're just a big company.
They're
and
huge.
They have their sort of allowances they work within, and
Yes.
there's a standard kind of thing that can happen, and those are just they have a protocol for them, and
So it's hard when you have an emergency incident and you're calling Texas to
Yeah.
speak to the people that are going to help you fix it. So it's really kind of frustrating.
and us people from California, we can't understand these people from Texas
No.
with their thick accents. Yeah, I know.
Can't understand it at all. They have to let me know I'm from Texas, so that's why.
They had to let you know. They're like,
did.
like we're from Texas.
Well, it
so.
wasn't because of that. It was because I was just pleading for them to hurry, and she said, "Ma'am, we are in Texas." So
Yeah.
so what they do is they basically will take your complaint and then they will put it out into a pool with the other complaints, and the first person in the area that can take it will take it.
Okay.
But the thing with this company is, if something happens, if they can't go, they won't tell you. Sometimes it's really on the contractor. Sometimes the contractor will call and say, "Hey, I couldn't make it." And I understood. They actually did try to have someone out there that first Sunday, but
Okay.
the contractor himself was not able to make it. No one told me that. I had to call back in Texas and say, "Hey, they said they were going to be here. I'm sitting at home waiting. Are they coming tonight?" And they said,
Yeah.
unfortunately, he was going to come, but now he can't. So no, tomorrow.
Yeah, and and that kind of brings up for a lot of people that are landlords or would be landlords out there. There's when you're small, like let's just say you own like one, maybe two rental properties.
Yeah.
It's important to set your tenant up with the proper people to call. So you can say, here's the plumber you need to call. It's a
Yes.
24-hour service. Just call it Roto-Rooter. I mean,
Yeah.
and you can set with Roto-Rooter. You can tell them, I'm okay with a $250 repair without having to call me.
Yeah, you don't
and
have to call me for
authorize
that.
it. Like if it's something that needs to be done to the home, like just do it.
If it's an emergency that involves, safety or the integrity of that's your investment when you have a
Absolutely.
home and you're letting someone live in it. So it's almost shocking to me that they wouldn't want to protect their investment more and check for mold.
Yeah, because the longer you let problems like this last, the worse the problem's going to get, and it's going to create new problems that wouldn't have existed otherwise.
Yes, exactly.
Like the pipe. I mean, nobody knows that a pipe behind a wall is going to just burst at some point.
Well,
That's rare.
Yeah, funnily enough, the plumber told me that the pipe was built right against a concrete slab.
Okay.
He was flabbergasted that anyone would build the house that way. I mean, of course, this is not the person that owns the house's issue, unless they built it. I don't know. But he was just saying, why would they put a pipe? It was leaning against it. He said over the years it must have just been rubbing and rubbing and rubbing and rusting until it went.
Yeah.
And so he was
Yeah.
a little bit shocked by that. So it was very loud when they had to chop out the concrete slab, which who knows if that could have hurt the integrity of the home. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? I
Yeah.
mean, and for anybody out there that that owns a home, I'm sure you've probably heard if everybody like were to flush the toilet and turn on the shower at the same time, like sometimes you actually hear the pipes kind of vibrate in the walls a little
Okay.
bit. I know I hear it whenever like the sprinklers turn off.
Wow, okay.
So like you can kind of hear like like you'll hear like a sound behind the walls like
No, I'll hear it sometimes when I use my bathtub.
Yeah.
When I use the hot, for sure.
because you have
It'll
all this
start to shake.
Well, you have all this pressure going through. It's like a hose. Everybody's seen like a fire hose that's on and nobody's holding it. It's just bouncing all around and because that pressure makes the the hose move around. I mean the pressure can do that to pipes as well. It's
Yes.
they actually do bounce over. That's why they're supposed to be strapped to something, to like minimize that because that can weaken joints over time and that stuff happens. It's just the nature of homes. But like if they could strap them like super super well, then that's less likely to happen. But sometimes like I had a triplex that I owned, and the plumber that did the property, we put in plastic pipe throughout the house. It's called PEX.
Okay.
And but the water coming in from the water heater was copper. So the copper, when it meets up with the PEX, copper tends to sweat a little bit.
Okay.
So it has a little bit of moisture that'll build up, condensation. And the guy had used galvanized clamps, which for most people, like they probably wouldn't even think of this, but galvanized can rust. And if copper's sweating and it's constantly getting moisture on these
then
on
you
these
have a
clamps,
problem.
yeah, like we built this house. We built this place. We like from scratch, basically from ground up. We built this house.
Yeah.
And I get a call from the tenant, saying that she's got a big bubble in her kitchen, like in the ceiling. And I'm like,
coming from the top, the ceiling?
yeah, like,
Oh
and I'm
my
like a
gosh.
bubble, like how?
So it was affecting the roofing. She
What-
had like a puddle of water
Well,
that was
so
creating a bubble.
right above the kitchen the kitchen ceiling
What a
were all the
nightmare.
pipes that were running not just to her unit but all the other units in the triplex.
Okay.
So it just so happened that her clamp rusted and burst off.
Okay.
So now there was a slight drip. Just a drip coming from that little thing, but that drip over time, eventually it soaks through the drywall.
Time is not your friend with things like that.
No.
No.
It soaks through the drywall. It soaks through the insulation.
Water
Insulation
can do
first.
a lot of damage.
It can.
It really can.
And so, then
It's a giver and taker of life.
yeah.
It really is.
But the bubble was basically the paint that was adhered to the drywall. Like the paint is so strong that it's actually able to stay together, but there's water forming behind it.
Oh,
so it's created this
no.
bubble, and the only thing
So it's only being held back by a layer of paint.
yeah.
Good thing you guys got the good paint.
we got the good
You
latex
guys did a
paint.
double paint. That's good.
But I'm like, a bubble? What do you mean? So I go show up and I'm like, oh my god, there is a bubble. Like, what the heck is that? So
What ended up happening after that
So
for her?
So we had to cut out a big section of the drywall in there.
Okay.
And and that's when we realized that he had used the galvanized clamps. So we're like, okay, so we have to now replace these clamps.
Now everything has to be, all the clamps on the pipes have to be replaced now.
Yep. And now we had to go, and now just out of an abundance of caution, we ended up running through the entire plumbing system that we could get to through the attic, which is where everything was run, and check for any other places he might have clamped it.
That's your investment. You want to make sure you take care of it.
Yeah, especially because I just finished this house. This house was less than a year old. It shouldn't already have flooding issues.
You shouldn't have had that issue. Yeah, so that's a red flag to check for other issues, and that's the one thing that shows a good owner is to make sure that you're taking care of any issues that could be there potentially.
Yeah, and fortunately, since the house was new, actually there was no mold. Because it's new. It's just not enough time for that to get there. Obviously, it can develop sooner than that, but in this case, we didn't have any mold issues. But
Thank goodness.
Yeah, as a good customer service person, I just said to the tenant, if there's anything I can do for you, if this is an inconvenience, just let me know. And she said, actually, it's not really a problem. I'm going to be at work all day. So, we were able to do it.
Was it resolved pretty quickly?
Yeah, we took care of it in 2 days.
There you go. And see, that's a fast-acting owner. And if there was a 2-day situation, things would be way different in my situation. But
and that's why sometimes renting from a smaller, more locally centralized landlord has some benefit.
It does.
Some of these big nationwide companies, they're good for the mass market, and for the most part, you haven't had many issues with the home. The sink was an issue, and this is now. But
yeah, they were also one of the people that would work with us for just being able to find a place to move into that we needed a lot of rooms because of my child and different things like that. And so, but working with a smaller owner, I think it would be better because you actually have someone you can call. You have someone you can talk to. Whereas with this, there's nobody that even owns the house. It's just owned by the corporation.
Right.
So, amongst their many other homes.
Exactly.
So,
one of their thousands of homes that they own.
Yeah, one of their many, many, many. Look out for my Yelp review. So, don't go there.
And working with the smaller local people, sometimes you might be working with a local property manager, and sure, maybe the owner, you'll never actually ever meet the owner. The owner's some guy living on a beach somewhere enjoying his Mai Tais, but the property manager is local, and sometimes they're really crummy local property managers, and sometimes there's some good ones.
I've had both of those experiences. In my
too.
last apartment, I don't even think that we signed the second lease when we ended up staying for another year. And then once we went month to month, it was that bad. We signed, but I don't think our co-signer actually ended up signing. They just ran her credit. So we had very little on paper, and thank goodness he didn't do very much to fix maintenance issues, but thank goodness he did give us back our deposit. So that was my biggest worry. We had situations where we would have new owners because the old ones would get fired or they would sell to somebody else, and someone new would come in.
The property management company.
New property manager would come in, and then they'd be like, well, we don't have any of the files. They actually said the last manager took all the files, so they didn't have any of our information, and they actually tried to get us to pay for our animals again.
Oh,
they said, well, we
you
don't
didn't
have
put the deposit down?
Yeah, saying we didn't deposit for them and that we weren't paying a pet rent. They were trying to get us to pay another $300 per dog, which I have 2 dogs.
Well, that's when you say, again, my rent is actually $500 a month,
Yeah, so no, that's when you thankfully have your copy. Hold on to all your copies. As a renter, you need to protect yourself. My advice is always make sure you're in the right and do what you should be doing as far as making sure you always pay your rent. And number 2, keep everything in writing. Keep all your receipts. Just get a folder and keep it in a drawer. If you get anything, just stick it in there, because you will never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah. And sometimes, like even when it comes to, you just mentioned like security deposits. Like,
yes.
That becomes a big point of contention for a lot of like landlords and tenants at the end, because you moved out, but you wanted to hang some stuff up. You have pictures of your family. You want to make it into a home.
Yeah.
And landlords should encourage their tenants to make their place into a home, because you want them to move in and make it a home, because they're going to stay longer.
Yeah, and they're going to keep giving you, your property will be making money longer.
Yeah, you're trying to get cash flow, right? That was the purpose of this investment in the first place, was I'm going to buy this house and make, X amount of dollars per month.
Isn't the purpose of this operation to make money, or no?
That's what I thought it was, but part of making money is good customer service and all that. But when you're moving out, definitely when you first walk the home, that walk checklist that you go through in the beginning, important. Super important. Make sure you're calling everything out as a tenant.
Yes.
And same thing with landlords. Make sure you're calling everything out too.
Make sure you're showing your renters everything that's there and let them know. And I think it's also really important to let them know what your expectations are for the home. So they were upfront about that. They said, please, if you do put things up on the wall, that's fine. We do ask that you paint over those before you leave.
Yeah.
We ask that.
Patch and paint or something.
Yeah, something like that. And they did let us know those certain things. And this was finally the first time that I was smart enough to take my own pictures, to walk through with her, and just let her know other things that I did find, because that's very important. Anything else that happens to the home, they're going to take it out of your deposit, and rightfully so. That's their investment. If they need to fix something, it should come out of that. But just make sure you're not paying for something that was already there.
Yeah, I had a good landlord when I was like 21, 22 years old or something. He told me, he said, just don't make it look like a machine gun went off in here. Like when you guys move out, he was like, I want you to hang stuff up. Like, this is your home. Like, I want you to enjoy it. But
don't let me find a cockroach infestation, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Please.
He's like, just keep the grass mowed. Like, he was pretty cool about it. Everything was in writing, but like, he was a good landlord.
Yeah.
He was a good dude.
Sometimes you just meet good people.
Yeah. And he just, he was getting in on the real estate craze like that. He was like a doctor or something, but he was good.
Yeah.
Like, he just he laid out his expectations, and we laid out ours, and it was just sort of like, it was a very good agreement we had. And when it came time to to end the lease and everything was fine. Like, we walked away. It was good. I kind of wish I kept his contact information.
It's hard when it's hard to find good people like that, and that's so important.
Yeah. So we are about out of time. I think we only have about 2 minutes. So I think I'll use the last couple minutes to tell people that are listening, if you want to learn more about real estate investing, or if you want to meet other real estate investors like myself, come on out to the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. We meet on the 4th Wednesday of every month at the Mission Inn. We're back at the Mission Inn.
Yay, we love the Mission Inn.
I know, we do. It's a great place. It's catty corner to our office, so we love it. Come to the 4th Wednesday of every month. We'll be having ours this month in August. What is it, the 25th or something like that? I
believe so.
Whatever the 4th Wednesday is.
Yeah, always the 4th, not the last.
I know. That's such a, we had an issue with that 2 months ago. Yeah. So, because, some months have 5 Wednesdays in them. So it's always the 4th. If you have any
questions, feel free to contact me. I can give you all of the information.
Exactly.
And we are on Instagram. You can find us there, too. You can check out the stories from the club meetings. We run those. And just see a little bit about what it's about.
About what it's all about.
Yeah.
And, we have a Patreon page. Go to, be our Patreon or beourpatron.com to follow me and Steven's real life, real estate investment experiences. Plus we have the club, lots of content there. Go on meetup.com. That's where we have all the main stuff for the club. Meetup.com. Just look up the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. We're the largest club. We have about 4,000 members, so you can pick us out of the crowd there. And come meet everybody. We don't charge for anything. We don't have any sales or anything like that.
No sales whatsoever.
Yeah, we're not selling seminars. We're not selling books or mentor programs or anything like
Nothing.
that. Just a bunch of real investors that are there to help out and get you moving on to your next phase of your business.
The yin to your yang. You could find it there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we also have other meetings too. We have a cash flow game, which we had last night.
Cash flow
was fun. We had a really good time. It's at the Round Table in Highland. It's called the Round Table Clubhouse. Pretty cool spot.
Yeah, it's not too far from here.
Yeah, that's true. And then we have another one called the Saturday Morning Coffee, which is always the Saturday
morning
before
coffee. We love that one.
The 4th Wednesday. But that's all the time we have this week. So tune in next week for the Flip Flop Investor Show. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you again next time. Take care, everyone.